Evolution origin. At some point, someone hears about evolution and says, wait, so you're telling me my great-great-great-grandpa was a monkey?
Oh my god.
Cue the dramatic gasps. Bananas drop. Monkeys everywhere are offended. But let's clear this up. Evolution does not mean we came from monkeys. At least, not the monkeys you see swinging from trees today. Here's the deal. Humans and modern monkeys, like chimps, baboons, and macaques, share a common ancestor. Think of it like cousins. You and your cousin didn't come from each other. You both came from the same grandparents. Same thing here. A long time ago, millions of years ago, there existed a now extinct primate species. That species eventually branched off in different directions. One lineage led to humans, and others led to what we now call monkeys and apes. Over time, each group evolved based on their environment, survival pressures, and sheer evolutionary randomness. So no, your ancestor wasn't a monkey in a zoo eating peanuts from tourists. But we do share a lot of DNA, about 98 to 99% with chimpanzees. So the next time someone says, we came from monkeys, hit them with the truth. We didn't come from monkeys, we share a common ancestor with them. 10% brain myth. Imagine this. You're walking home after a long day, minding your own business, when you spot a strange little pill lying on the sidewalk. It's glowing faintly, like something out of a sci-fi movie. Naturally, you do what any curious, slightly unhinged protagonist would do. You pick it up and swallow it. Suddenly, everything changes. Your vision sharpens, numbers and equations float in the air like the Matrix, and you now remember where you left your missing sock in 2009. Congratulations! You're now using 100% of your brain, just like in the movie Lucy, or Limitless. Or, well, every science fiction thriller with a budget and some blue lighting. Except, there's just one tiny problem. That whole, we only use 10% of our brains idea? It's completely false. Here's the deal. Neuroscience has never supported this claim. Modern brain imaging techniques like fMRI and PET scans show that we use virtually every part of our brain, even during simple, everyday tasks. Whether you're solving math problems, tying your shoelaces, or just daydreaming about pizza, your brain is active. Even during sleep, various regions are hard at work managing breathing, processing memories, and keeping you alive. So where did this myth even come from? Some trace it back to early 20th century psychologist William James, who once said that we are making use of only a small part of our possible mental and physical resources. That statement was about human potential, not literal brain usage, but over time, it got twisted. Motivational speakers ran with it, self-help books amplified it, and pop culture turned it into a cinematic cliché. But let's be clear, if 90% of the brain were truly unused, then injuries to most parts of the brain wouldn't have much impact. In reality, damage to even small areas can lead to serious consequences, from memory loss to motor dysfunction. So no, there's no hidden chamber in your head waiting to be activated by a magic pill. Lightning strikes? You've probably heard someone say it after a thunderstorm. Relax, lightning never strikes the same place twice. It sounds reassuring, almost wise. But scientifically, it's nonsense. Lightning is electricity, pure, unpredictable, high-voltage energy, and it doesn't follow poetic rules. It doesn't retire a location after one strike like it's been crossed off some cosmic checklist. In fact, if anything, lightning has favorite spots, and it keeps going back to them. Take the Empire State Building, for example. That iconic skyscraper gets hit by lightning around 20 to 25 times every single year. Why? Because lightning looks for the path of least resistance. It's drawn to tall, pointy, isolated, or conductive objects. Basically, anything that helps it complete its journey from cloud to ground as quickly as possible. So if a place has been struck before, it likely has the right conditions to be struck again. The myth probably caught on because it sounds like a metaphor for unlikelihood, or bad luck not repeating itself. And if you're still not convinced, consider Roy Sullivan, a U.S. park ranger who was struck by lightning 7 separate times during his life. At that point, the universe wasn't being random. It seemed to be in a committed relationship with the guy. So the truth is simple. Lightning absolutely can, and often does, strike the same place more than once, especially if it's a good target. Brain sides. You've probably heard it a million times. Left-brained people are the logical, analytical types, while right-brained people are the creative, artistic ones. But here's the truth. It's a myth. While it's true that certain functions, like language processing and logical thinking, are more associated with the left hemisphere and creativity tends to be linked with the right, the brain doesn't work in these rigid little compartments. In reality, the brain is incredibly interconnected. Both hemispheres communicate constantly through a bundle of nerves called the corpus callosum. This means the idea that one side of your brain governs all your logic and the other side handles all your creativity is an oversimplification. Think of a writer. They might use their left hemisphere to construct sentences and organize thoughts logically, but they'll also tap into their right hemisphere for imaginative storytelling and creative flair. So, next time someone says, "Oh, I'm a right-brained person," just remind them, your brain doesn't pick sides. It's all about teamwork. Cold sickness. It's a classic. The moment the temperature drops, someone inevitably says, "Better bundle up or you'll catch a cold." But is that actually true? Spoiler alert. No, you don't catch a cold just by being cold. Here's the thing. Colds are caused by viruses, most commonly, the rhinovirus. You don't get sick because of the weather itself. You get sick because you've been exposed to someone who's already carrying the virus. It's all about the germs, not the temperature. So, next time you feel a sniffle coming on, don't blame the weather. Blame that person who coughed on the subway. 5 senses. We've all been taught the basic 5 senses: sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. Simple, right? But here's a question. What if I told you you've got more than just 5? Yep. Turns out your body has a whole bunch of senses you probably don't even think about. And no, I'm not talking about that weird 6th sense you get when you know someone's staring at you from across the room. Humans actually have at least 9 senses, and some scientists argue we might have even more. Let's break it down. Balance, equilibrioception. Ever tried to stand on one leg without tipping over? That's your sense of balance at work, keeping you from looking like a confused flamingo. Body awareness, proprioception. This one's the reason you can touch your nose with your eyes closed. Your brain constantly tracks the position of your body parts in space. No external GPS required. Pain, nociception. A pretty essential sense, right? It lets you know when something is, well, on fire or about to break your toe. Without it, you'd probably keep walking on a broken leg. Temperature, thermoception. Remember that time you accidentally touched a hot stove? That was thermoception saying, nope. Internal senses, interoception. This is like your body's status update. It helps you feel things like hunger, thirst, or even when your heart's racing from a scary movie. So, where did the idea of only having 5 senses come from? It probably dates back to Aristotle's time, when he did his best to classify everything into neat categories. But science has come a long way since then, and we've learned that humans are packing way more sensory abilities than 5 simple senses. Postmortem myth. You've probably heard the eerie myth. After you die, your hair and nails keep growing. It sounds pretty spooky, right? Almost like you're slowly becoming a mummy without even trying. But guess what? That's not how it works. After death, your body doesn't magically keep growing hair or nails. What actually happens is a bit less supernatural. When you die, your body starts to dehydrate, which causes your skin to shrink and retract. This shrinking can make it appear as if your hair and nails have grown, but in reality, they've just become more exposed due to the loss of moisture. So, no, your hair isn't growing in the grave, and your nails aren't suddenly sprouting like the world's creepiest garden. Late-night eating. We've all heard it before. Don't eat past 8 p.m. or you'll pack on the pounds. It's a rule many of us try to follow, especially after a heavy dinner, like some kind of food curfew. But here's the truth. It's not about when you eat, it's about what and how much you eat. The myth likely stems from the idea that eating late somehow leads to more calories being stored as fat, but your body doesn't have a special late-night metabolism mode. What matters is your overall calorie intake throughout the day. If you consume more calories than your body needs, no matter the time of day, you'll gain weight. Your metabolism doesn't suddenly slow down just because the clock strikes 9 p.m. Sure, eating a big meal right before bed can make you uncomfortable or affect your sleep, but it won't automatically turn those midnight snacks into extra pounds. In fact, some studies suggest that a light, healthy snack before bed could even help stabilize blood sugar levels and improve sleep quality. The real culprit? Poor eating habits and overall lifestyle. So next time you feel guilty for having that late-night bowl of popcorn or snack, just remember, it's not the time that counts. It's the choices you make during the day and night. Eat wisely, and the clock won't be your enemy.